Well, hey, amazing people. It is I, Tracy Lene, fresh out of school. I teach middle school. Feeling pretty good. I got a walking treadmill. So every block, I have 4 blocks. One is my planning. Every block, in the beginning, I give them a warm-up. And their warm-up, they're doing it silently. The music is playing. And I'm on the treadmill for that 20 minutes. So that means I get, because I do it when I get to school for 20 minutes. My 3 blocks, 20 minutes each. And then 20 minutes when school lets out. So I'm getting them steps in. I'm going to get this weight off. Anywho, let's get started. We are in The Power of Now, A Guide to Spiritual Enlightenment by Eckhart Tolle. I'm going to be just here on Wednesday, Fridays, and Sundays. Because with me being in school to finish my degree to become a full-time teacher, teaching school, trying to have some type of life, and this is a part of my life. I love this so very much. I needed to scale back. But the good thing is when I'm finished the book, then you'll be able to just press play, press play, press play, press share. Like, share, subscribe. All right, here we go. For many women, the pain body awakens particularly at the time preceding the menstrual flow. I will talk about this and the reason for it more in detail later. Right now, let me just say this. If you are able to stay alert and present at that time and watch whatever you feel within, rather than be taken over by it, it affords an opportunity for the most powerful spiritual practice, and a rapid transmutation of all past pain becomes possible. Many women will be like, I'm on my cycle, so don't worry. If I say it, oh well, I'm on my cycle, I'm irritated. Don't blame your cycle. You're just an irritated person, and you allow that time in the month is when you're okay with letting it out because you feel like, well, I have this out. I can blame it on my cycle. I'm not an irritated person. I had a cycle. I wasn't running around here bitching and fussing and complaining. And many other women don't either. So maybe you should just admit you're not able to express yourself freely without an excuse or a reason. And your excuse is you're on your cycle, so you make that your reason. I could be wrong. Ego identification with the pain body. The process that I have just described is profoundly powerful yet simple. It could be taught to a child. And hopefully one day it will be one of the first things children learn in school. Once you have understood the basic principle of being present as the watcher of what happens inside you, and you understand it by experiencing it, you have at your disposal the most potent transformational tool. That line right there, and you understand it by experiencing it, is why we should not judge people. When you don't understand what they're doing and you judge it, you will go through it. It may not look exactly like theirs, but you will go through it so you can understand it. You can stop judging people. I used to be Judge Judy. I would judge you up one wall and down another because I thought, well, I'm not doing that. Well, I'm not doing this. I wasn't looking at, oh, but I am doing that. Oh, kind of did that too. I thought because I wasn't committing what I considered major sins that I could judge people and God is, letting me judge. No, God wasn't. Not even a God inside of me was doing that. That was just me in my pain, wanting to deal with somebody else's pain. And you shouldn't do that. This is not to deny that you may encounter intense inner resistance to disidentifying from your pain. This will be the case particularly if you have lived closely identified with your emotional pain body for most of your life, and the whole or a large part of your sense of self is invested in it. What this means is that you have made an unhappy self out of your pain body and believe that this mind-made fiction is who you are. In that case, unconscious fear of losing your identity will create a strong resistance to any disidentification. In other words, you would rather be in pain. You know people like that? Because I do. Be the pain body, then take a leap into the unknown and risk losing the familiar unhappy self. If you ever been in the presence of somebody who can't do nothing but complain, who just literally like they get an erection or arousal from complaining, I know people like that. And the saddest thing about it is they don't have to do that. They're beautiful. You see these sparks of their beauty, but you're like, you just want to live in foolishness. Let them. You can't change people. Just get away from them. If this applies to you, observe the resistance within yourself. Observe the attachment to your pain. Be very alert. Observe the particular pleasure you derive from being unhappy. Usually unhappy people find happy people because they want to be happy. They just don't know how. And happy people usually attract unhappy people and like that because they want to make somebody else happy, or they want to feel happier about themselves. Observe the compulsion to talk or think about it. The resistance will cease if you make it conscious. You can then take your attention into the pain body, stay present as the witness, and so initiate its transmutation. Only you can do this. Only you can do this. Only you can do this. This book is not going to do it. Your pastor's not going to do it. Your priest, your monk, your rabbi, only you can do it. You've got to reach down inside of yourself and deal with that pain body. And when you do, it's scary as hell at first. Oh my God, the stuff that comes up, you get embarrassed that you had those thoughts. You get ashamed that you had those thoughts. You get all of these kind of things that these are the thoughts that you have. But when it comes up out of you, it's amazing. Nobody can do it for you. But if you are fortunate enough to find someone who is intensely conscious, if you can be with them and join them in the state of presence, that can be helpful and will accelerate things. But you still got to make the choice. In this way, your own light will quickly grow stronger. When a log that has only just started to burn is placed next to one that is burning fiercely, and after a while they are separate again, the first log will be burning with much greater intensity. After all, it is the same fire. To be such a fire is one of the functions of a spiritual teacher. Some therapists may also be able to fulfill that function, provided they have gone beyond the level of mind and can create and sustain a state of intense conscious presence while they are working with you. Speaking of therapists, I got to be honest with you. I do think that people need therapists. I think it's beneficial to talk to somebody else about your issues if you are not strong enough in your own self to get books of self-help, to meditate, to look within, get a therapist. But understand that therapists, they got issues too. I once knew a therapist who was having an affair with her best friend's husband. And you helping people to get rid of their shit, and you need to get rid of your shit. And when I say once knew, she used to come to the gym I worked at. I taught yoga, and the situation got blown out of control in the gym, and that's how I know. So I don't know her personally because I wouldn't be friends with somebody like that. I'm not judging you, but I don't befriend people who have low character. The origin of fear. What was that here? You mentioned fear as being a part of our basic underlying emotional pain. That's my grandbaby. How does fear arise? And why is there so much of it in people's lives? And isn't a certain amount of fear just healthy self-protection? If I didn't have fear of fire, I might put my hand in it and get burned. This is his answer. Well, let me go back because this was his question. This was the question. You mentioned fear as being a part of our basic underlying emotional pain. How does fear arise? And why is there so much of it in people's lives? And isn't a certain amount of fear just a healthy self-protection? If I didn't have fear of fire, I might put my hand in it and get burned. The reason why you don't put your hand in the fire is not because of fear. It is because you know that you'll get burned. That's intelligence. You don't need fear to avoid unnecessary danger. Just a minimum of intelligence. I didn't know he was going to say that. Minimum of intelligence and common sense. For such practical matters, it is useful to apply the lessons learned in the past. Now, if someone threatened you with fire or physical violence, you might experience something like fear. This is an instinctive shrinking back from danger, but not the psychological condition of fear that we are talking about here. The psychological condition of fear is divorced from any concrete and true immediate danger. It comes in many forms: unease, worry, anxiety, nervousness, tension, dread, phobia, and so on. This kind of psychological fear is always of something that might happen, not of something that is happening now. You are in the here and now, and while your mind is in the future, this creates an anxiety gap. And if you are identified with your mind and have lost touch with the power and simplicity of the now, that anxiety gap will be your constant companion. You can always cope with the present moment, but you cannot cope with something that is only a mind projection. You cannot cope with the future. I like that. You can cope with what's going on now because it's going on right now. You can look at it. You can analyze it. But if it's in the future, there's too many moving parts. Like, it ain't happening now. So let it go. That's hard to do. But I've learned to come back to the present moment. And even when I get all the way out in the past, or get all the way out in the future, or go all the way back to the past, I've learned to bring myself back to the present moment. And I told you how you do it. I go, that's a television. That's a lamp. That's a wall. Those are sparkly shoes. They're so cute. And I start coming back into the present moment. Moreover, as long as you are identified with your mind, the ego runs your life. Let me say that one more again. Moreover, as long as you identify with your mind, the ego runs your life. As I pointed out earlier, because of its phantom nature and despite elaborate defense mechanisms, the ego is very vulnerable and insecure, and it sees itself as constantly under threat. This, by the way, is the case even if the ego is outwardly very confident. Now remember that an emotion is the body's reaction to your mind. What message is the body receiving continuously from the ego? The false mind-made self. Danger, I am under threat. And what is the emotion generated by this continuous message? Fear, of course. Now, I love Beyonce. So this is not me dissing her. This is me observing something. Beyonce, anything she touches, she wants to do her best at it. She's all over the place. When there was the Olympics and I saw Beyonce in an Olympic outfit, I said, you ain't even at the Olympics. I believe, and I could be dead damn wrong because I don't know that woman, she has an intense need to be in front because she's afraid, her ego is afraid that somebody will come and steal that spot that she is. She's talented as hell. Completely talented. Love it that, you know, she's going to all the genres. She has hair stuff. She has all of this stuff going on. But I wonder if it's because she still doesn't feel she is enough. I don't know her, so it could be, I could be completely wrong. But what it seems like to me from being a person growing in spirituality is she just hasn't realized she's enough as is. She had on an Olympics, gymnastics thing. Of course, her body looks good. I don't know if she paid for it to look good through personal trainers or through surgery. I don't care. It don't matter. It looks damn good. When she started the hair products, you know, she has beautiful, long, luxurious hair. She used the protective styles. But it seems to me like her ego is like, you got to go after that. You got to go after that. Go after this. You got this. You got it all. And she seems to be doing it. I ain't mad at her. Go do you, boo-boo. I just wanted to point that out. That's what it seems like to me, that her ego is very vulnerable and insecure. I could be wrong, though, because I don't know that woman. Fear seems to have many causes. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of being hurt, and so on. But ultimately, all fear is the ego's fear of death, of annihilation. To the ego, death is always just around the corner. In this mind-identified state, fear of death affects every aspect of your life. For example, even such a seemingly trivial and normal thing as the compulsive need to be right in an argument and make the other person wrong. Me, used to be me, is due to the fear of death. Defending the mental position which you have identified is due to the fear of death. If you identify with the mental position, then if you are wrong, your mind-based sense of self is seriously threatened with annihilation. So you, as the ego, cannot afford to be wrong. To be wrong is to die. Wars have been fought over this, and countless relationships have been broken down. You know what broke me out of that? A tsunami came in my life that I did not bring and I did not deserve, but it came. And it's that Maxwell song, I was reborn when I was broken. In this song, Lifetime, that's me. I was reborn when I was broken. That's why my journal is the first thing in my journal, you see. I was reborn when I was broken. I then recognized that I can be wrong. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm going to die. When I was able to stop having to be right at all costs, my God, life opened up for me. And I could say, I don't know. Or I was wrong about that. I didn't have to find a way to be right. I didn't have to say, well, that's your opinion. This is my. I just said I wasn't correct. This is the most freeing thing I've done in my life, honestly. That tsunami, most people would be like, oh my God, you dealt with that. I'm so grateful for it. I thank God for it because it broke the part of me that needed to be right about everything. I don't need that no more. I could be wrong about everything and still be valuable. Once you have disidentified from your mind, whether you are right or wrong makes no difference to your sense of self at all. So the forcefully compulsive and deeply unconscious need to be right, which is a form of violence, will no longer be there. It's no longer with me, y'all. You can state clearly and firmly how you feel or what you think, but there will be no aggressiveness or defensiveness about it. Your sense of self is then derived from a deeper and truer place within yourself, not from the mind. Watch out for any kind of defensiveness within yourself. What are you defending? an illusionary identity, an image in your mind, a fictitious entity. By making this pattern conscious, by witnessing it, you disidentify from it. In the light of your consciousness, the unconscious pattern will then quickly dissolve. This is the end of all arguments and power games, which are so corrosive to relationships. I promise you, on my 212-pound self, stop needing to be right and watch relationships change. Watch it. From the time I was 10 or 11, I had to be right. I would just keep talking, out-talk you, outdo research, whatever I needed to do to be right. It was exhausting, and I wasn't happy. When I turned 40, yeah, you heard me, 40, I started to realize I'm not right about a lot of things. And this tsunami is about to take me out. It's like I was learning to breathe underwater. And as I learned to breathe underwater, I learned that you get to be wrong. And it's okay, Tracy. You get to say, I don't know. You get to say, I was wrong. You get to say, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Mistake, by definition, is unintentional departure from right. Error means you knew it, you did it anyway. Some people say, no, a mistake means you shouldn't have done it and you did it anyway, whatever. Either way. I learned that I didn't need to even care about that. So anyone who has identified with their mind and therefore disconnected from their true power, their deeper self-rooted in being, will have fear as their constant companion. The number of people who have gone beyond the mind is as yet extremely small, so you can assume that virtually everyone you meet or know lives in the state of fear. I believe that. Only the intensity of it varies. Some people don't live in as much fear. Some people live in a whole bunch of fear. I think people who do like those really extreme fearful things, fearless things, live in the fear of, if I don't do that, I don't exist. Or people gonna think I'm a punk. So I'm gonna jump out of a plane because I ain't no motherfucking punk. Or I'm gonna get on fear factor and lay in a bed with worms and snakes and stuff on it because I ain't no punk. Not me. It ain't enough money to make me do that. No, thank you. I'll get money another way. That's another thing. Money comes in other ways. You ain't got to do one thing to get money. You can do a lot of things to get money. Where was I at? It fluctuates between anxiety and dread at one end of the scale and a vague unease and distant sense of threat at the other. Most people become conscious of it only when it takes one of its more acute forms. The ego's search for wholeness. Another aspect of the emotional pain is the pain that is an intrinsic part of the egoic mind is a deep-seated sense of lack or incompleteness, of not being whole. I was that too. Me. In some people, this is conscious. In others, unconscious. If it is conscious, it manifests as the unsettling and constant feeling of not being worthy or good enough. If it is unconscious, it will only be felt indirectly as intense craving, wanting, and needing. In either case, people will often enter into a compulsive pursuit of ego gratification and things to identify with it in order to fill this hole they feel within. So they strive after possessions, money, success, power, recognition, or a special relationship, basically so that they can feel better about themselves, feel more complete. But even when they attain all of these things, they soon find that the hole is still there, that it is bottomless. Then they are really in trouble because they cannot delude themselves anymore. Well, they can do, but it gets more difficult. Most people have a fear of not being enough. Mine, I can stem from being in the womb of a 16-year-old girl who is a genius and had this beautiful life waiting for her with scholarships in the school she wanted to go to. Find out she's pregnant in 1968. So then you got to go before the church and beg other sinners to forgive you for sinning. But the daddy don't have to go. Now let's get to the daddy. I don't know that little girl. That ain't my baby. No. So all that's going inside of me. And even though God gave me a wonderful father, by the time I was 3, I didn't find out he wasn't my dad, so I was like 15. But let's go back. God looked out for me because while I loved my birth father and he's gone on to glory, he would not have been good for me. His mother, my grandmother, would not have been good for me. The best thing she gave me is these high cheekbones. But then my other grandma had high cheekbones too, so I should have got them for her too. Who knows? I could have gotten them for her. Either way, God knew what God was doing when my situation was what my situation was. But I held on to that Oh, and my little tiny violin. I don't know who my father is. My dad abandoned me. My daddy did not abandon me. My daddy raised me, gave me his name, adopted me, did the best he could until he didn't know how to do it no more. My mama didn't want him no more because he couldn't stop taking his penis on a world tour. He left us all. My sister, who's his biological daughter, and me and my mama. He was like, bye, I see you when to see you. Which turned out to be never, because he went on to glory 2 years after my birth father did, 2 days apart, and they were buried on the same day. Tell me that ain't spiritual. That is so spiritually sound. Anywho, I took on that I'm not worthy bullshit for so long that life said, yeah, she ain't worthy. Give her that too. Yeah, unworthy people get that, and that. Give her a double dose of it because she's not worthy. And I went through that tsunami and said, okay, I just play it. I'm worthy. I'm worthy, God. I'm worthy. And I changed myself. As long as the egoic mind is running your life, you cannot truly be at ease. I know that. It don't run it no more. You cannot be at peace or fulfilled except by brief intervals when you obtained what you wanted, when a craving has just been fulfilled. Since the ego is a derived sense of self, it needs to identify with external things. It needs to be both defended and fed constantly. The most common ego identifications have to do with possessions, the work you do, the social status and recognition, knowledge and education, physical appearance, special abilities, relationships, personal and family history, belief systems, and often also political, nationalistic, racial, religious, and other collective identifications. None of these is you. Let's say it again. None of these is you or me. Do you find this frightening? Or is it a relief to know this? It is a damn good relief to know I am not the ego self. I am not my ego. I am not my personality. I am not who I was born to. I am a soul on a mission to enjoy life. Michael Singer. Check him out. You're going to thank me later. Michael Singer. Wonderful man. The Untethered Soul, which will be after this book. Where was I at? Perhaps you find it as yet hard to believe, and I am certainly not asking you to believe that your identity cannot be found in any of those things. You will know the truth of it for yourself. You will know it at its latest when you feel death approaching. Death is a stripping away of all that is not you. The secret of life is to die before you die. Ooh! The secret of life is to die before you die and find that there is no death. I wish that scripture Jesus says about death. Ooh, the scripture is not coming to me, but it's a scripture that you like. Well, then you got to be dead. You have to die to yourself in order to find heaven. And I'm probably paraphrasing, but that dying to yourself is dying your ego. Don't let your ego run you. That doesn't mean somebody slapping your face. You go, I have no ego. Slap the other side. No, that's self-defense. That means somebody cut you off in traffic. You don't do 100 with your 2 babies in the back, a seat and a baby bottle in your hand. Get around him and throw the bottle out the window like somebody did to my husband a few years ago. He cut the woman off. He's a New York driver. He cut her off. This woman zooms up, comes around. She's in a fishbowl, which means her car wasn't tinted. Just 2 babies in the back. And she throws her baby bottle at him. Does she not realize, obviously she didn't, that that man could have followed her, beat the shit out of her, hurt her children, shot her children? You don't do stuff like that. Her ego would not allow her to let go. I don't do stuff like that. You can pass me all day long. My gas is my gas. I'm going where I'm going. Anywho, I will see you Friday, moving deeply into the now. I love you guys so very much. I am really excited about this year at school. I'm teaching a course called Business IT, where I teach computer science, computer solutions, keyboarding, and make it your business. I am excited. I love these children. I love this school. I love the staff. I'm just in a really happy place because I'm not expecting anything. And I don't allow anything but happy to stick. And then even I know with that, happy can't stick forever. Anyway, I'm going to see you guys Friday. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. What I mean by that is my grandma used to say that all the time. Like, if God says it's good. All right. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.